Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first edition of X Nights, our monthly series of events revolving around new immersive forms of storytelling. My name is Thomas Zaubach. I'm the head of VM People, an agency that is specialized in new digital forms of storytelling. Me and my team have the pleasure to host this event for tonight. The so-called Metaverse is probably one of the biggest buzzwords these days. As for me, I'm convinced that we should bring this fear. We should do, make things. We should be creative. We should play around with ideas to make this vision, which is actually great, happen. And this is exactly why we built this place here, the Area X. This is the reason why we brought X Nights, this event series, to life, to connect like-minded people like you and exchange our ideas. We are very happy to have two highly inspiring people here tonight who've been working for years at many levels on the fundamentals that will eventually become Metaverse one day. Astrid Kahmke and Sara Lisa Vogl. Astrid's heart beats for storytelling. She's been working as a creative in the film industry for many years before she moved on to the world of immersive arts. Astrid and has been its director and soul ever since. Our second speaker for tonight, Sara Lisa Vogl, is not only a great creator of VR experiences, but also a researcher and connector of the so-called Metaverse. Sara Lisa is co-founder of the organization Women in Immersive Technologies Europe, a member of the Global Future Council, VR/AR on the World Economic Forum. Astrid and Sara Lisa will share their thoughts and opinions on how to shape our immersive future in a fireside chat live on our virtual stage. Their claim is all power to the artists. Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, please welcome Astrid Kahmke and Sara Lisa Vogl.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Can you hear me? Yeah. All right.
Sound okay? Oh, cool. So
right,
thank you very much,
sorry
Thomas.
to interrupt you at the very beginning. Can everybody see the presentation? Can we get a heart if you can see the presentation? If you can't, can we get a sad face?
I can see it.
Okay. Okay. And then one you can. Okay. Interesting. Sorry, bear with me 2 seconds. I'll just connect it. Again. Here we go. Can we get some hearts if you can see it now? Get some hearts. Some hearts. There we go. Perfect. Sorry about that. Slight hiccup at the beginning. Thanks, everyone. Stage is yours.
All right.
Thanks, and no worries.
Very cool. Okay. So good evening, all, and thank you for being. This evening is dedicated to all works of visionaries and artists in virtual environments, but especially I want to talk to Root. Under this artist persona is Sara Lisa Vogl, who most of you very likely know. I just consciously spoke about virtual environments, but we can't avoid metaverse.
In my opinion, unhealthy hype that personally reminds me of the early days of a wave of VR.
In 2013 and 2014, let's say, evangelists, ambassadors futurists, the breathtaking development of VR technologies and consumer markets. The headline along the lines of invest in research. I know I'm exaggerating, but there were some pretty heated discussions back then that inevitably led to sobering up. On the stock market, consolidation, and when reality again determines values more than bet on the future. So what is the metaverse? I think everyone in this room has read a thing or two about it. For me, the most catchy idea is that the metaverse is the internet, except that we build virtual environments instead of 2D, and we build these environments in 3D, in three-dimensional space, where we can interact and communicate with each other, with our representations, with our digital beings, our digital selves, the avatars. Why do I find the current discussion about metaverse unhealthy? Well, because once again, we have the chance to use great technology. We have the chance to use the developments for real socially relevant change. And this is really much needed. I think you agree, we are facing times of climate change, of a pandemic, of social inequality worldwide. There must be a chance for a chance to change, the opportunity to use these technologies for a better future. What is really happening is we talk about capitalization, about economic and also political potential. And this makes it a brave new world, right? Most of the efforts I perceive, I'm honestly have to say, are aimed at bringing the old familiar into the new spaces, rather than creating something true. Thank God there are clever minds, artists, philosophers, who also deal with the metaverse. And they are thinking about how to shape fundamental change that we are facing. So at this time, we really have the tool in our hands that everyone can participate in and that everyone can help shape in a real democratic process. Recently, Tony Paris, Unity, he shared some thoughts about the metaverse and shared the 7 rules of the metaverse. So the 7 rules are 7 sentences, and I want to share that with you in a moment. Rule number 1 is there's only one metaverse. Metaverse is for everyone. Nobody controls the metaverse. That's a good idea. Metaverse is open. The metaverse is hardware dependent. Metaverse is a network, and the metaverse is internet. This is where my idea comes from. So one of these brilliant minds already working and shaping the and in the metaverse is Sara. Sara is one of the really truly pioneers working in VR since 2013, 14 around. There was a legendary 40-hour shamanistic tour. I remember 48 hours in virtual reality. It was in 2015.
That was actually in
16.
January 2016. Yeah, we did that performance in the Game Science Center in Berlin, where we basically just got our first HTC Vive dev kits back then, and we basically built this hypothesis of like, how would it actually be if a person would be nonstop in VR and kind of live in VR, and we did that for 48 hours straight on a live stream where he was basically not taking of the headset, and I took care of and basically guided him through different VR environments, put the trip together, took care of his hardware so that everything was set up and kept running. And I obviously, it was in like early days, I had to restart the hardware like several times, like the PC and the headset and stuff. So it could all keep running, but he never took the headset off his head. So
There was also DevKit 1 time, so in 2000, I guess.
Yeah, that was
really
like the
days. You also game called
Trips. And the stunning thing about Lucid Trips is that it's dealing with a complete different kind of locomotion.
And this is really something new to be honest. Not only you teleport or you walk, meanwhile you can fly in VR. What Sara did already 5 years ago was to let you move through underwater space by shuffling your hands like swimming. And
yeah,
that
so
was
step back there, because it actually is true that we started and I co-created that together with Nico Ute. He's a VR creator from Hamburg. And actually, so in 2013, when we were basically just getting into VR and the Oculus DK1 was first like released on Kickstarter, we that both had a design background but no Unity background got into learning Unity because of wanting to build content for the Oculus Rift back then. And that was at a time when there was only a headset and there were no controllers. So it wasn't that you had the hands and the controllers. So what we did, we built this installation where you could hang yourself in to be in a different body position, to like hang a bit forward and therefore like feel kind of as if you would be flying already. And then we hooked up the Razer Hydra controllers, which were back then like wired controllers that you could like use with your PC to the Oculus Rift to actually have that setup of hands and the body. Because what we also explored during that time was lucid dreaming and especially fly dreams. So Nico and his mom were actually like having these like fly dreams like very, very often. And I got to learn like how to like lucid dream and fly dream. And we also like built that VR experience back then for that reason. But then as soon as the HTC Vive was released, that actually had the headset and the controllers as one set, we always wanted. Like back then when they released the DK, have the controllers and have integrated together with the headsets, we were really just like lucky and happy that that basically at one point the setup was free and we thought like, okay, now we can actually do this experience for the mainstream. And we released a early access version in 2017 on Steam, but honestly no one really knew back then what this was. You know, it's more like an experience. It's not really a game, so it doesn't have that real genre of what it is. And we were thinking back then we wanted to do multiplayer, but it was just too complex for a small team to actually pull it off. But
it was too early. It was too
yeah,
early.
I think now, like having something like that, you could compare it a little bit to this ape game, to what's it called? You know, where you jump around, like this really popular free-to-play one. You know, where people are just hanging out there and like, you know, tagging each other, but it is of course for a very different target group and for a very different community because it's a lot about meditation and being calm. But I think what we're talking about now with the metaverse, this is such an opportunity where you could build these kind of experiences and these kind of games that we back then just wanted to bring to as many people as possible. You can build them on these online social spaces that we're right now calling metaverse, for so many more people to experience together with anyone. So I think, yeah, a lot happened like since I started working with the medium of VR and got my hands on like a headset at first, and the point where we are right now. So I think it's really a whole different a whole different landscape that we're talking about for sure.
Yeah, well, but you started with embodiment. In my perception, that's what we met. And it's still it seems still some focus on your work deal with the space and how to fill the space, and that's the essence of virtual environments. You're dancing, you're using controllers and trackers, and you're doing an incredible, beautiful artwork. Do you want to explain for yourself what you're doing in art?
Yeah, so what I'm mainly focusing on and what I find most fascinating is really embodying myself into an avatar, and with like full embodiment, I'm using at the moment Vive trackers, where I basically have full body tracking through a 6-point tracking system. So I'm using 3 Vive trackers and Vive wireless headset. As you can see here in this picture, I'm doing things like spinning around a pole, and I'm performing, and therefore I can't use a cable. So I the effort going wireless with the Vive Pro and the wireless adapter to basically be able to perform in social VR or in the metaverse. And I do very much believe, and I also went down that route so much. I do very much believe that the more embodied you are, the more feedback you have of your own body position and movement in the virtual space, the more you are immersed, the more you believe your environment, and the more you actually also kind of take away from this experience. So it becomes a deeper and like more immersive experience, the more you are actually representing yourself accurately inside of VR. And yeah, so there's so many things we can talk about here, because that's actually the point where we also are talking about why in lucid trips we left out the legs, why in alt space on leg, but why I do very much feel in alt space that I'm missing my legs. So, you know, if you add an animation to legs, they do it in VR chat, it's always an animated added thing that's not representing your real movement, and it's creating a discrepancy between what you're actually doing and what your avatar is doing. And that's something that makes the world less believable. But then people say, so rather leave it out before you make something that's not working. That's also why people started leaving out elbows, because the IKs weren't good enough to represent it real. And then they were like, oh, let's rather leave it out before we do something that feels off and that feels like not great on your avatar, because we are such an immersive medium that things like a bending elbow can have like a real effect, and it can kind of feel like it would actually hurt you. You know, there's like research around these topics that VR can make you feel so immersed that you're actually feeling things that your avatar might do or feel, like also heights or jumping from a higher building or things like that.
That's interesting. What you're saying is that our brains are the brain is completing pictures, right? So I wouldn't miss your elbow or legs standing in front of you, because my brain thinks this is Sara, even if this is a animated avatar, but I hear your voice on my own. If I look down and I don't see my feet, I feel strange.
Yeah.
And that's really interesting. That's something people are working on it, and I think it's cognitive science also. The psychologists are working on it. But maybe we show the trailer to step into your beautiful dancing performances and the
decentralization and ownership is a very, very good one, and a very, very needed one for this new area that we're now entering, where we basically talking about creator economies, where we're talking about enabling people to actually like really step into self-expression and into like into really realizing their ideas and their creations and can actually sell that and make money off. Because usually what the case is that artists, if they're lucky enough to make a living in the metaverse, are working on someone else's ideas to translate them. But now in this recent wave, we've seen an uplift on interest in digital artists creating avatars or images or videos, etc., that are actually bought because they themselves are great, or the artist behind that is great, or the community or the collective that is with that artist is great. And so I think that is a step that is very, very much needed, that like artists are not just like working for brands to like realize their like brand goals, but that actually there's a creator economy being established that values like individual styles and like really individual brands. Like we also saw that happening, for example, on Instagram or other like 2D social media in the last years. So I mean, Instagram is not a great example, but like I mean the because there's like it's not a comparable creator economy, how the business model behind that is functioning, but still it enables people to.
For me, it's the only way, and this is why I think the title "All Power to the Artist" it's not as provocative as it sounds. Possibly, is that it's always been the artists who had the visionary ideas and who took new technologies as tools and created something really new. And what's happening right now, my opinion is that there are too many companies building old stuff and bringing their old ideas, their old business models into the metaverse, whereas the real chance is what artists are doing. So bringing new ideas, fresh ideas into the space. So you are one of these visionaries who make it a utopia instead of a dystopian idea. And this is extraordinary in my opinion.
So thank you. Thank you for saying that. And what I would like to add to that in terms of, you know, the metaverse and the current hype that's also existing around it right now is when we're defining the metaverse, I actually I do not agree with those 7 rules of Tony Parisi, I have to say. I don't think that those rules make sense to define. Number one, that there's only one. Here, the metaverse, you know, they want to be that one metaverse. And so I think it adds to creating a certain hype around a space that is just like being coined right now because it's the most like this word metaverse, which was like originally from Neil Stephenson's book Snow Crash. It's just like I think the closest we get to like compare like a word to what is happening right now with the social VR online spaces that we are in a meeting with, because back then they logged into computers and went to this digital world. So I think there's a big hype generated around the word metaverse, but what it is in general very much is that we are looking at online VR social spaces or even online social spaces in 2D that have been a thing for gamers in certain communities over a whole couple of years. But now the mainstream is actually there, especially since COVID. This is something that like everyone kind of wants to participate in certain areas. And so, you know, there's now like, it seems like there's a metaverse for this and that, there's a metaverse for this and that. Back then it was like massive multiplayer online games, what they called them. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a lot of like a talk that's going back and forth around this hype word, but what we're actually looking at is like a really huge potential, because we've seen that from the gaming industry for years, that this concept works and people want that and people profit from that, you know? And so I think what we're looking at here is just like defining like how these spaces exist. And like, I do very much think there will always be certain spaces that are for some target groups and certain spaces that are for other target groups. I don't think there's going to be one of them that's completely interoperable. Back then, even like when we were talking about the performance disconnected we did in 2016, the projection that Torsten did back then was that there will be always legal and illegal VR cafes or something, you know, where you have like a kind of like a darknet metaverse, and then like you have like one kind of more open metaverse and like all these kind of things, you know. We were like playing with these kind of ideas. There will always be like underground things as well, like in real life. That's the case in real life too.
Absolutely. But maybe we can agree on that the metaverse, it's really hard to use that term since Mark Zuckerberg
That's
rebranded
fine.
Facebook
Reuse
into
it.
Meta.
I love Neil Stephenson and I love Snow Crash, and I read that book 10 times before I ever even went into the first online VR social space. So because they want to claim that term, and I think the metaverse is something that can't be claimed by one company.
They can't conquer it. I think we all agree that there is the future, that this is a future medium. This will be a fundamental change of how it's media. And it already started last year in my perception when COVID kicked in and we all had to reorganize our lives. And well, I tell you something, and all the festivals and events went online, and had a huge advantage was people working in the field of VR, started building those platforms, and VR chat was not there yet, but we started working with it, and Allspace was not there, but we could use it. And the festival started to build own platforms like Theme of Other Realities, or Sönke Kirchhoff within VR build a platform together with Ulrich Fromm. And so we could start to use the social VR platforms for our events and for our original content. And that was a massive leap forward, and see where we are right now. So I think the message is that artists who want to work in the field of reality should really learn to use how to create in metaverse. And that would be my final question for you. The closing question is, what would be your advice to creators and to artists who want to step into the field and to learn or to build something, where to start, or to meet, to watch? What would you propose?
So yeah, of course, there's like a million things on the internet, and I don't know all of them. There's so many. I think, like, honestly, the internet is just the biggest blessing. Like Professor YouTube basically can teach you anything, and then like of course, like what I said before already, like Crew Metaverse, our Discord channel that's also linked on the Twitter is definitely an amazing place. It's a super cool, super inclusive community. There's like a whole bunch of creators that are just like working in all kinds of different areas of VR and AR creation. Yeah, we're like super open and we're growing and we're like including in our community in like knowledge sharing. So I think like finding those people that you vibe with and that you can create with and like building kind of like a community and peers that you can really like grow with and work with. And like I think that's the most important thing, that you have other people that you can just like test your things with, that you can show your stuff, that you can get feedback from, and just really like find a good community and find some good friends that do the same things that you do, and you're gonna be great, I think, because you know, you learn together and you learn while like sharing and exchanging and while teaching other people. So I think that's really it. And like Discord, of course, there's like so many Discord channels. I can't specifically recommend really any other one, but every social VR platform we were talking about obviously has a Discord channel that is like really like focused on their kind of area. Oh, and actually there's the HOTS house if you want to learn about Somnium Space. So yeah, there's a whole couple of opportunities, but it's really also about, you know, what you want to do, and there's new stuff coming out every day, so I have no way of knowing everything. So yeah, so just stay updated on Twitter and Discord, and yeah, and learn and create, because that's just getting you wherever you want to go.
Okay. So I think before we all our headsets are running out of battery after a while, maybe open for discussion or for your questions if you have. Could you help us to organize that? And
Yeah, sure.
and
But I've got the hand
thank you.
raise feature is now on, so everyone should be able to raise their hand. If you see down to your right, if you have a question, just raise your hand and I will give you the megaphone so that you can be heard. Okay. I feel like this presentation was for me, by the way, directed at me specifically, being a 3D artist and virtual reality world
Amazing.
builder.
Yeah,
It
come
definitely
come
resonated.
join our Discord.
Yeah, no, I definitely should. It's funny you say about the metaverse, because it's the same thing with like, you can't help but be a hipster now that when you hear people use the metaverse term, you're like, I've been here before, it was cool, I was here like this whole time. Really, it helps because it gives a word for it that's better than, like, you say virtual reality social platform, it's a bit long. Now that we can say
Yeah.
metaverse, I still use it because it gives us something.
Yeah,
But
people relate,
Yeah.
like people can relate to it and they know what you're talking about. So I think it's just always helpful to have a common ground to know what you're talking about.
exactly, yeah, definitely. I could ask you questions and talk for all day long, but what's left of it. But we've got some questions here, so let me open up. So, Shushu, first of all, so let me put you on air and give you the megaphone. There
Oh,
you go.
hey,
You should
Shushu.
be able to speak now, Shushu.
Thanks
I
for
know Shushu.
coming.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. So, first of all, congratulations for the organizers of this event. You have a really nice turnout here in Old Space. It's a very nice evening. It's so nice to see so many people, and it's a really beautiful vision. I totally agreed with Astrid when she mentioned about big companies that just because they heard about all this metaverse thing and they just come now and show some interest, but still they are old-fashioned. They bring their old perception about space, and it personally, as an artist, it makes me feel frustrated when I enter another venue and it just looks like a replica of the real world. It feels that some people's mind is limited and they don't know how to use the potential of VR. So you're right that the meeting them with artists, we just make them benefit out of it, and the artist as well. Street,
Yeah.
thank you very much for guiding this event. Now, Sarah, I want to say that it's beautiful what you're doing. I would call it modern body art, VR body art performance. And I wonder, would like to ask you a personal question. As an artist, you might have created, before VR in the world, then you share your worlds in some social medias. There's a moment when you enter VR and you feel that there's a different community for VR people, and then there's an outside world. And I was wondering, just as an artist, how many people from your relatives or friends have any idea of what you're doing in VR?
That is an amazing question. Thank you. Not that many, I think. I mean, I always send some videos to a few friends of mine. So I have a couple friends of mine that I send like videos to, but yeah, no, it is a very specific world and community, and it doesn't have too much to do with the real world. Yeah, I'm not a pole dancer in real life.
Yes, yes, I know. I was wondering because you said, if I may just 1 minute, sorry for taking your time. You said you miss the legs here in Allspace. I understand you choose like VR chat mainly because VR chat is more focused on the avatars. Allspace is a different platform. It's all about the content around you and the events and the community. So we don't really miss the legs here. But the question is, are you able to use your technology to like puppetry to animate a 3D model instead of your avatar?
Hmm. Interesting. I'm not sure. You would need to look into the SDK if you can somehow implement the Vive trackers. So what I once noticed is that I had the trackers on and I wanted to see what happens. And I switched them on and I could basically have a collider under my feet so I could fly. Just like with reverse gravity, through like a different controller binding, but I didn't. Yeah, I didn't try to bind anything else to those because I don't know if that works, but might. I mean, but you can't upload avatars here, right? You can only upload worlds. I'm not sure. Something
Yeah,
for Lawless to check out.
yeah. There would be only worlds in here, so you couldn't do it with the avatar. But no, it's a great question as well.
Yeah,
Um,
great question for sure. It would make so much sense.
yeah, thanks for that one. Right, so I'm going to take the megaphone off of you now, Shushu, and we've now got THT, as I know him, Thorsten. Right, you should have the megaphone right now.
So, thank you very much. Very interesting, and I have to apologize. I'm actually a business professor, so I'm the one, but I'm not wearing
You
a
don't
suit.
have to
So
apologize.
Ooh.
no.
Absolutely
So
not.
that's
Welcome.
no. But what I'm interested in, of course, that comes up. The question is, yeah, but where do you make money from? So who pays you? Is that VR chat, or is that people? Is that just like a content you're producing that you get through the whatever influencer world? Or and please apologize if that's not meant in any type of offensive way. I really appreciate art and what you're doing. Thank you.
Yeah, a great question. So, no, that there's no payment from any of the platforms just like that, or influencer payment or anything like that. But I did get a creators fund from Somnium Space. So there's a couple of creators funds that you can apply to. That's what I usually do a lot. They're now, like with the metaverse hype, there's actually a couple of things. We also posted them on the Twitter, but there's like the Mona spaces where you can basically apply, then you can potentially like get some money for 3D environments that you are creating. There's of course the opportunity, and what I am exploring recently as well is with NFTs on Somnium space. They have NFTs, so that's how you actually can make money. And I'm already seeing like fingers going up. I know it's probably a very very hard topic very hard conversation to have right now, and there's a lot of negative implications because of certain blockchains on the environment. I'm very aware of that. I just wanted to mention that in that context. But I do see the positive sides of NFTs and of NFT collections that also then work later on with airdrops. And I do very much think that this is something that I definitely do want to explore for anything that I'm working on with WIIT, because I do want to build this community inside the metaverse, and that's also where it starts like generating money, because I I start running events, or I start basically also like selling my own avatars. But as we were talking about before, and with artists not always being able to work on their own stuff, I do still work at least half of the time, if not more, of my day for other people to actually finance all my art that I do mostly for free. So that's also something.
Maybe I can add something here that you're very much deeper into that topic, Sarah, of course, but I realized that it's really of this is what kind of skin you're wearing in social environments. So I feel always clumsy in all space, to be honest, because it feels like being in Yahoo in the 90s. No, it's not the 90s of the internet, but the early 2000 years, though. It looked really a bit childish, to be honest. And it doesn't give me too much opportunities to create my own avatar. Whereas when I go to other spaces, you can use avatars, like in VRChat, you can use your own avatars. So I'm not a 3D artist, but I want to be cool and I want to have something that represents me. So I ask an artist to for example. And let me add that in Venice, the Venice Biennale VR Festival last September, they offered a huge gallery, an artistic gallery of avatars you could clone on. That was the first time I have seen something like being in an arts exhibition, and there were pictures on the walls of artistic avatars of most beautiful shapes and textures, and wonderful. It was a wonder world. And you start to move differently. You start to feel you have another skin. And I think that's a market of the future as well. It starts already in Fortnite. It's changing their skins and buying shoes and digital fashion. But I think that will be something in the metaverse that really will be a market. And I find it okay, the cryptos, and that's a completely different topic, of course, talking about chain and cryptocurrencies. But this is a chance of pay direct to wallet, so that if artists known economy and
Yeah, definitely. And what I meant with the NFTs for Somnium Space is exactly that, avatars, because as it's also a online social VR space, like a metaverse, where you go in embodied, like they're creating it VR first, basically. And so there's a lot of people that are now creating avatars that are especially optimized and made for this platform. So I think that is a very, very cool opportunity that people are having now that can be used.
That's a great question as well, and it's definitely, I agree with that as well. It's definitely a balance as a creator. It's kind of, you have that percentage of time you spend on your own passion project. Then obviously you have to make money. So I have some of my clients in the
Yeah.
audience actually, but
Yeah, same.
NFTs for me is a good way to be like, you know, you're selling them is like you've got that complete creative freedom to design something that you want from scratch, and you know, use your imagination and create this product. And then when people buy it, obviously it's great if you can make a living that way. It's not always easy to get started, but to get going, good. Right. I'll stop talking because we do have more questions. We have loads. I don't know if we can get to everyone, but Lawless, you're up next. There's someone else I know in the audience.
Hello,
Lawless,
can
my guy.
everyone hear me? Hello.
Yeah.
We can hear
Hello,
you.
hello, hello. Yeah, I just wanted to say to Sarah, I also know you's Root, congratulations on your award that you won. And if you'd like to talk a bit more about what went into creating the world that you amazingly created, and what are you working on in the future? What are you doing for 2022 going forward? And that was it. And it's a pleasure
Thank
to
you,
be part of the
Lawless.
crew.
Yeah, you're the best. Great question.
Yeah.
So I think you're talking about Mycelia.
Yes,
Mycelia
I am.
was actually the first project that I co-created with the Metaverse crew. Especially from the Metaverse crew, there was like Tyson and Face and Deke and Tone Technician. Like there's a couple of guys from the Metaverse crew, obviously Rick, that were very involved in like making everything work and helping out and testing and whatnot. And so I basically co-directed the project together with Nanotopia, who is a musician and like sound designer from Canada, Toronto, and she works with living mycelia that she's hooking up to electrodes that she then like feeds through an Arduino board and back into her PC. And then Tone Technician from the Metaverse crew basically enabled her to stream that into the VR world, and we added audio reactivity to the VR world, where you can then basically see like the input from the living mycelia that's translated into music, even in the environment. Like you saw that at the beginning of this short video I showed before. So the process there was very experimental because I got to know Nanotopia a bit before in an artist residency that we were in together from the Goethe Institute, Montreal. And so I was working with her on a different project where I basically started like bringing those sounds into Unity. But then we were like, okay, let's do that because this is social VR. This is where we can share this with other people immediately. As we're talking about the metaverse as well. So yeah, that's really how it came together, and it was only due to like everyone in the Metaverse crew being so amazingly flexible and motivated that it turned out as such a great experience. To be honest, like we all
It's
worked together, but we
absolutely
didn't
beautiful.
know
Yeah.
what the end product would be, but we all just put our best into it. So it worked out really well in the end.
And what are you working in the future? If anyone gets a chance to go see, if you're ever in VR chat, PC VR, please go and see Mobile. It's amazing. Oh, and will it be Quest friendly in future?
That's a tough question. I think we're all very busy with things, and this is a very heavy world, so I don't really think it's gonna be Quest enabled. But so I'm actually currently working on Roots Club. So as I'm doing these performances and like exploring more about embodiment, I want to do that with other people, and so I'm building this club for full body tracked performers that wanna basically get into virtual performing, into like full body tracked entertainment or shows, or just also self-expression, be it dance, be it like be it whatever. It can just be movement, but it would be like this fully embodied, and it can be any shape of avatar or whatever you want to explore. But yeah, so that's what I'm doing with Roots Club. I just started sponsoring like for 2 diverse creators wife trackers, so they can hopefully join me soon with with their new trackers. And I'm always looking for other interested people to to join that, because it really is so amazing to meet these like-minded people in such a high-tech space, which is so niche right now, right? It's such a niche.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thanks for coming. I know you're missing the meetup currently, because usually at this time is our Metaverse crew meetup that I already pointed out to the
Yep.
organizers people.
Sorry.
You have to try and get
No
there quickly
worries.
afterwards,
No
otherwise it's too
worries.
late.
I'm very glad and happy to be here. Don't get me wrong.
I'm glad to have you. Because Stolen, yeah, and Lawless.
Thank you.
Right. Do we have time for another question, or do you want to open things up so everyone's free to talk? It's up to you.
It's up to you. I think I don't know
I
how
don't
time we
mind,
still have.
whatever. I think I can seize the questions if they want to
Yeah, we've
go
got-
for them.
Got,
So,
up
sure.
next, got sorry, Lawless, I'm taking the megaphone from you. We've got Lucas up next, Lucas H. I'm just going to give you the microphone. Here you go. You're on air, Lucas. That's
Hi,
not Lucas,
everyone.
coming up to the stage. Yeah, that's Lucas.
Can you hear me? Can you hear
Yes.
fine?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I wanted to pick up on a question that's been posed before. Where it was about how do you make money here? I just wanted to I don't know, give another input. If we talk about the metaverse and virtual reality, of course, you got to make a living somehow in the real world, but at the same time, maybe it's also time to challenge the status quo and think about, I mean, we have abundant social interactions here, creative space. We don't need the materials. If you're an artist, or if you have been a traditional artist, you need material to create your art out of. Here, you can create things out of pixels. So maybe we also need to question: do we need to make a living in the way that we used to do, and stop asking that question, how do you make a living in the social space, and just think about how is this revolutionizing how I can contribute to a community and also gain from the community. I don't know. Just wanted to ask
yeah.
if you really feel touched by that question, or if it is maybe not even relevant to you at all anymore, because it's not about the money that you make, but for other things. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. I really love that from a philosophical point of view. I do really think that I think I was touching a bit on it in terms of that we have the opportunities for self-expression with being able to everyone build their own worlds that they can live in. So yeah, to a point, yes, but to another point, I'm just seeing that I am buying more hardware than ever, and I'm buying really expensive GPUs to be able to run those worlds, and internet and whatnot always has to be biggest money spent is new hardware, because or new software as well, because it's not all free. If you want to create rights-free content, it's a lot of it is very expensive software that you're using, and so yeah. Actually, I would love that, and I think it's a great utopian idea. But the reality for me still looks different, with the computing power just being so very expensive currently.
So would I don't know, the conclusion be that maybe more people outside of the community that people here are in would need to understand that there's a place here that is also worth supporting, that is also worth contributing towards, that maybe there's state funding. You've also talked about support, that external support that you got, and that there should be more of this, even if people right now don't see the value in like non-material things being somewhere on air. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it's too philosophical.
Yeah, I think that's gonna become very very specific. But I do very much agree, and I do very much think that there is a space for all these things. Even currently, there are opportunities to probably like fund a VR ready computer and headset with like creator fundings. So yeah, for me it's just like that. Still, it's graphics cards are just like very expensive and are using a lot of electricity. So it doesn't seem to me at like the kind of utopian paradise we're looking for in terms of like the balance where we're at the end, you know. Or maybe that's a bit pessimistic for me, but I'm very aware like what kind of computing power I'm using or I need to use for actually having that VR content and creating that VR content that I enjoy. And so I don't have an answer to that. I don't. But I think we will see like when time develops, you know, like I'm not making the graphics cards, and I just know what I have to use to create what I want to create. But yeah, very.
I have a completely different, maybe provocative attitude to that. Of course, I think, I don't know why, but artists are usually are really trying and say, oh, I don't need much money, I can make for less, it's all for the arts. And then one point, companies and the economy is taking advantage of, let's say, people like Sara, she's working in 10 years and she's already, she's exploring it and investing a lot. And I think it's time to value to artists, and can't change our economic system for. It's something I would love to, but it's nothing we can do as an individual. It's an social achievement we have to work on. But for now, I think it's if money is the currency of value to evaluate an achievement, artists should get paid a lot. And that's my very personal opinion about that. To be honest, it's time the artists start to stand up and say, what I'm doing is worth that money. We are losing him. I was too, but that's my attitude.
Did we,
That's my attitude.
I took his megaphone off because we could hear feedback. I was going to put it back on just after you'd finished speaking so he could reply, but he's disappeared.
Okay. Maybe his battery stopped.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Yeah, I don't think it was a rage quit, because it wasn't that controversial what you said. I think it's fair.
No, but it's a different discussion, but I just wanted to drop it at that.
Yeah.
I think I might have
Stand up,
misunderstood
be
his
brave.
question even after hearing your answer. I don't know. But thanks for that.
Yeah. Okay, we do have time for one more question. And I think the next question will be from Nico. Nico, I'm just going to give you the megaphone. If it lets me. It's not letting me give you the megaphone. Interesting. Give me 1 second. Let me just try to refresh this. There we go. Oh, and Nico's gone. Did you not have a question, Nico? You've disappeared from the question list
He's
now.
like, no.
Nope. Oh, okay, you didn't have a question. Okay, all right. Apologies. Right, so the next question will be Jeremy then, for the last question. I'm going to give you the megaphone, Jeremy. There you go.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yeah.
can hear you.
Yeah, that's great. So my question is more about NFTs, and I want to ask: do you think there will be a designer who will go with customizable, so not designers in real life who are designing for the Fashion Week or something? Or, so do you think maybe in the future there will be some people having a job full-time designer for customizables in the metaverse?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I do very much think that they already exist, those shops, and that people are already making money on exactly that right now.
Yeah, I'm doing it in Decentraland. We're doing wearable
Yeah, there
t-shirts.
you
My
go.
girlfriend has a
Yeah.
print-on-demand
Yeah.
t-shirt business, and I convinced her to do them in Decentraland as avatar wearables, and it's working. So we're getting sales on that front. So yeah, definitely.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you for
and
the
I think
answer.
those things are like in the VR spaces. It's probably still like a bit slower, just because like all of the VR spaces don't have the user numbers, like except maybe Rec Room, than compared to like Decentraland, etc. So we're really looking at like things that are working completely in 2D, but in VR, it's like just about to happen.
Okay, great. So do you think that Decentraland will be the main currency for that, or is there something else which is important for that?
I think this will happen everywhere, like anywhere
Yeah.
where you can imagine someone having an avatar and wanting any kind of like wearables or, cars, whatever you can imagine that the avatar wants to own inside the metaverse, someone has to design that. And that's going to be creators. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay,
so
thank you.
Somnium Space is at the moment like doing that exactly with their NFTs that are minted through their platform. And I am not sure how exactly all the systems will later on work together when you get like future airdrop variables, for example, for your NFT avatar. But all of that is currently being developed, and you can see that on a couple of platforms how it's done.
Okay, so you think that something like the movie Ready Player One will be something which we will see in the future?
I think that's reality to a degree right now.
Yeah. I was also talking to a creative director of I'm not going to name drop the company, but a big company, and they were asking me about sort of people buying NFTs and then being attached to real life the item. So they send, when you buy
Yeah.
the NFT, they send the item to you as well, and trying to
Exactly.
use a platform that at the moment the features don't exist in the platforms, to like it's not integrated into the platform, so you can do that. But when things like that start happening, it'll be more of that Ready Player One scene where he buys the suit in virtual reality and it turns up in real life. So I think that's something we're going to see in the not too distant future.
Yeah. And that's currently happening in Somnium Space. When you buy like the certain car NFT, you get like the real like metal plate, like engraved kind
nice.
of poster to your home with
Oh,
that
that's
NFT.
cool.
Yeah.
I'll have to check that
So
out. I haven't been in there
yeah.
enough.
Yeah, just come join me sometime.
Yeah, I'll do that. Definitely.
Yeah.
Right. I think that's all we have time for in questions. Yeah, definitely. I think it is the answer to everything. It's happening.
We're knee deep in there already.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, thanks everyone for the questions. I'm going to lower that hand raise button now. Sorry, we couldn't get around to the last two questions.
So thanks very much, Sarah and Astrid, for sharing your inspiration, for showing us what is already happening, what is possible in that space what people call Metaverse. I think it's always a good sign if the audience can't stop asking questions. Fortunately, we couldn't address every question that was being asked, but would you stay here for another, let's say, 5 or 10 minutes so people can approach you to talk to you one-on-one?
Sure.
So if that is possible, please, we close this session now. Don't stop the conversation. I myself, I felt very inspired by the video you were showing, Lisa, the pole dance. And that's the point where I can point you to our party that is taking place in the Area X at 10 o'clock. We don't have polls, but we have really good music. We have a resident DJ called Illuminati. Some of you might know her. And yeah, if you're up to, please be back. And we'll meet on the dance floor probably. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thanks for having us.
For being here tonight. And well, maybe you are back one day to talk about your new projects. That would be great. Thanks to our great audience. And I would like to point you also to our next X Night, which is taking place on February 8, where we have another cool topic. It's about concerts in virtual reality.